Well, standing here watching the sunset and making maple syrup tonight, it's almost hard to believe that we had a massive ice storm earlier this week. I tell you what, I can't believe we didn't lose power, but we never did. I'm really glad to be rid of the ice now, and the maple sap is just gushing out of these trees. Cats, it's getting dark. I'm never gonna get this done. I just want to make one shot of dumping sap. Stay away from the camera. Oh, that's a heavy load. I remember when I used to have to dump all 6 sacks to fill 1 bucket, and now I'm way over half full from 1. Did you ever get a Christmas present when you were a kid that was something that could not be used until the weather warmed up in the spring? Like maybe it was a trampoline or something. You got the gift, but you can't use it yet until the weather warms up? That's the feeling that I am feeling right now. I'm sitting in an S760 John Deere combine that just showed up, and I can't use it. I can sit in it, I can drive it around the yard, I can pull it into the shed and pull it back out of the shed, but I can't really use it because it's a long time until harvest. I just want to sit here and mess with all the buttons. The controls are completely different from the 660. I just want to use it. This is awesome. This is a nice touch. This is the worst. Well, there's no time to waste sitting around crying about the combine because this week is spring break at Iowa State University. And that means Cole is going to be here to help me tear the planter apart, put the planter back together, put the tanks on the tractor, start to get things ready for spring, because even though it's really cold, doesn't feel like spring right now, it's going to come eventually. We got to be ready. All right, the first order of business is to get the front fenders off this tractor because they will not clear the front support arms for the saddle tanks. Then we bolt these big heavy steel plates to the side of the tractor, get them on there nice and tight because that's where we will pin on these front support arms for the tanks. Then we need to put the rear supports on the center of the back axle. All right, with all the supports mounted to the tractor, we can crane this tank up in the air and get it over next to the tractor and try to get it weaseled around so that it'll slide on. This year we have 2 chain hoists on the crane, and that is really, really nice to try to get things tipped exactly how it has to be. This is a pretty delicate part of the procedure because it's really easy for one guy to get a little ahead of the other guy and bind everything up. We got it on there pretty easily. I'm tightening up the bolts right now, and that's all there is to it. You got these little bolts that keep the tank from sliding off, and it's just that easy. Having this crane makes it way easier than it would be if we were trying to balance the tank on the forks of the skid loader or something. And you know what? Even having Cole here doesn't hurt anything either. Well, we got everything all apart. All the rows are just like this now. Cole put these new seed tube guards on there. I'm really excited about those. Look at how beefy they are. I think they're gonna be way better than the ones we'd been running on there. We have been barely getting a year out of the previous type of seed tube guards we were running, so I'm hoping that these are better. Howdy, Mr. Coleman.
Hey, Carl.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going.
What are you up to right now?
Putting the disc openers on.
How's that going? Oh, sorry, I forgot to follow the script. What does a disc opener do, Cole?
Disc opener opens the furrow up, and in theory, if Carl's running the planter right, which he probably isn't, it'll create a perfectly V-shaped furrow for the seed.
Interesting that you're making a W shape with your hands while you're describing a V. There you go. That's what we don't want, is a W furrow. So once we get them on there, we're gonna try to get them shimmed properly with the use of business cards. We'll show you how that works. You know how it works.
You know.
All right, so we've replaced our disc openers with new ones because our old ones were worn out. Before we start setting our gap, we want to make sure we've got our nuts tightened to the proper torque. Also, remember that the nut on the left disc opener is reverse thread, so you're going to have to turn it counterclockwise to tighten it. All right, that one's good. That one's good to go. What we need to do now is set the amount of contact at the front of the disc openers. And the way we do that, take 2 business cards, slip one in from the front and one in from the back. And then we measure the gap between those business cards. So here we have exactly a 2-inch gap. I'm very happy with that. Some of the literature says 1 inches to 2 inches. Some says 1.5 to 2.5. Since they're new and they've still got paint on them, I want to be on the high end because after a few acres, it's going to wear some of that paint off and they're going to have a little less contact. What you do not want is any gap at the front. You end up with a W-shaped furrow, and then the seed can either fall on one side of the W or the other side or on top of the little ridge in the middle. You want a perfect V shape so the seed falls right down to the bottom every time. Consistent depth, consistent emergence. And the way we do that is by making sure we've got the right amount of contact. So I also want to rotate it around a couple of times and check in a couple different spots. And the reason we want to do that is to just make sure that we don't have any irregularities in the disc openers. I also like to just spin them a little bit and make sure we don't have a whole bunch of run out. Just kind of find a place to focus on the frame and watch the disc opener pass by that spot and make sure that you don't have a whole bunch of variance in where that disc opener is running. Make sure they got the bearing right in the center of the disc opener. This one looks really good. 1 down, 15 to go. Hey Cole.
Yeah.
You remember last year when I plugged up a couple rows on the planter and then planted a lot of acres and those 2 rows were yellow because they didn't have any nitrogen?
Oh, I remember that.
Well, one of the reasons was these worn out knife tips. They got all full of dirt right there and it would plug up and the nitrogen wouldn't come out on that row. So we're in the process of replacing these. This is what the new ones look like. You can see that the old ones have got a lot of wear on them. We've got all the good out of these tips, so we're gonna put these on. Got this black flexible 1/4-inch airline, and it just runs through the whole length of the knife support. Comes out the top by the hinge where it mounts on the planter. It's really easy to connect because it just has this shark bite fitting right here. You just push it in and it gets right a hold of it. I need to cut this hose off a little better because the guy that cut it didn't exactly cut it perfectly straight.
That's my bad.
I'd love to let you take the fall for this, but I cut the last 4, remember?
That makes a lot more sense.
So anyway, you just push it right in this fitting. Make sure it goes all the way in, and then it's got a hold of it, and it can't pull out unless you push down on this black ring, then you can pull it back out. And then this bolts right to the end of the shank. One thing I love that they've done here is they've made it so all the nuts hold on to themselves like this. You don't need a separate wrench to tighten this up. Other thing I love is they've made the bolts underneath here that clamp them on to the bushings are the exact same size. And then this will feed up in front of the row unit and hook into the nitrogen supply. Just that easy.
That easy.
Put her in reverse. Put her in reverse, Tara. All right, I'm gonna replace these springs. We had one break last year and it took a long time to change out in the field. So I'm just gonna get all these done so it's something we don't have to worry about. We got a lot done this week, Cole, man. Look at that planter, would you? I mean, we almost got done what we thought we were going to.
Dang near. Just got plummet.
DJ Cole, he's been DJing this whole event all week. Pretty good playlist, I gotta say, not gonna lie. Well, we didn't quite get all the planter prep done. There's still a few things that I need to check over that can only be done outside with the planter folded out and hooked onto the tractor. The planter is just too big to be able to fold out inside the shop or to even leave the tractor hooked onto it and get the shop door closed. Since I had Cole back this week, even though the weather was kind of rotten, we just unhooked it in the shop and did everything that we could while the machine was folded up. Now, you may have figured out that I'm kind of a planter maintenance nerd. I get really excited about this stuff, so I want to show you what came in the mail yesterday. Look at this. My buddies at Precision Planting sent me this planter maintenance guide. Has this checklist in front so you don't forget anything. And then it's just got really good instructions that you can go through about all of the things that you need to be paying attention to and checking every year. Things that might not seem like a big deal, but can really add up to a lot of losses if you don't take care of them. But if you want any of that information, it's all available for free. You don't have to be a customer. You don't have to do anything special. Just go to precisionplanting.com/maintenance, and it's even better than the book. They've got tutorial videos that'll show you exactly how to check all of these items on your planter. Make sure they're ready to go before you hit the field when the weather warms up. All right, a big thanks to Coleman for spending his spring break with me working on the planter in the shop instead of laying in some hot sand with his toes in the ocean water somewhere like a lot of other college kids were doing. Nothing wrong with it either way, but I really appreciated your help, Cole. Thanks a lot. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.